Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the VML. So excited to see you all. It is going to be a huge week here, week number 7. If you haven't joined us before, welcome, welcome. We are the VML. We are 11 weeks long Magic the Gathering Arena League, showcasing the talents of amazing people of marginalized genders within the Magic community. We started with 128 players. We're about to narrow that field down this week. This is our last week before playoffs, but before I get too ahead of myself, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Nicole Callahan, also known as Lady of the Crease, and I am joined tonight by the lovely, exquisite NileJoan. NileJoan, how are you doing tonight?
NileJoanRivers. I'm doing great.
NileJoanRivers.
How are you, Nicole? I am so excited to be here doing the final week before the playoffs. This is going to be a big night for a lot of players, some win-and-ins. People are going to figure out soon whether or not they've made the cut, and I'm excited to see the games.
Oh, I cannot wait. These players have been battling in and out for 6 weeks. And like you said, this is week 7, and we're going to find out who makes the playoffs. And there is a lot on the line in these seasons because thanks to our generous sponsors, Wizards of the Coast. They are amazing. Thank you so much for your support. We're able to put some awesome prizes on the line. We have the top 16 getting, I believe it's the, they get the QW badges, and then the top 8 make the VML champs and get our regional championship invites. So like, that's huge. That's huge. And the VML champs at the end of the year, there's 2 Pro Tour invites to go with that. So the top 8 VML champs, there's top 8 from the 3 seasons that will be this year. And 2 of those players will be sent to the Pro Tour. So this is like a streamline to the Pro Tour. It's a really, really tough tournament, but these players are at the very top of their divisions, and they are fighting for a spot in the playoffs. Top 2 in each division, each of our 16 divisions is guaranteed a playoff spot. And we do have wild card spots up for grabs, though. And we'll be doing a wild card week here to start our playoffs next week. So excited to see that. And if you want more information on the VML, make sure to follow us here on Twitch at twitch.tv/VMLMTG, on Twitter at VMLMTG, and on YouTube, VMLMTG. We also have an amazing Discord, an amazing community, and I hope to catch you all in there. Now, let's start our night by looking at what these players decided to come battle with in this the last week of regular rounds play before the playoffs. And we've got a lot of mid-range. If you look at the top, Esper mid-range, like, wasn't that the thing, I don't know, last year, like 8-10 months ago, 12 months, like Esper mid-range is Rafine Scheming Seer just the top of the top again? Or what am I looking at, Niall?
Yeah, well, so that's a great thing to point out, because Esper midrange has got to be one of the most resilient decks in Standard. I mean, like you said, it has been the top of the meta for years now, and it feels like a lot of times new sets come out and change decks in such a way that it's like, oh, okay, you know, this archetype isn't as viable anymore. But it feels like every single set, because of the way Esper mid is built, there's just, oh, what new cards work really well in Esper? But I think what we really see by this breakdown is how healthy of a format Standard is right now. We see a very even distribution, even at the top. You know, like our highest played deck in the top 5 most played, and our least highest, there's only like 7 players between that. Like, it is a format where you can bring a dozen different decks and win and perform. And I think that's what makes Standard so exciting.
Yeah, I love it. Love seeing a pie with all these running out of colors to use on the pie. That's what we're going for here. And like you said, you look at the top decks and you've got a mid-range deck, a control deck, Convoke, which is an aggro. We sort of like pseudo, like almost combo. You just want to get a bunch of things into play and play your Imitating Recruiter and kill your opponent. A ramp deck, and then another mid-range deck before going to another aggro deck. So you've got, you know, what's your flavor? Like, we got it all here, and it's wonderful to see. I love seeing a healthy Standard format. I love this for the game, and I love this for the VML, as it is our format here. And let's get into our first matchup, where we will be checking out a 5-color domain deck and a very cute kitty. And Domain is just a deck that has been hanging at the top, hasn't really gone away. We saw, you know, decks sort of like Bant Toxic have its day because it was good against these Domain decks, but it just hasn't shrunk at all. And we see some people putting in cards like I've seen Imidane's Recruiter in Domain decks, and now we see a Trumpeting Carnosaur in Domain. What are your thoughts about this Domain deck?
Yeah, so in my opinion, everything changed for Domain once the standard RCQ season started. I think that's really when the format got put under pressure. And before that, Domain had just been kind of running over the format. But then as soon as people were like, oh, there's like a lot on the line now, uh, Toxic became just like a hugely popular deck built almost specifically to kill Domain. And it does so very well. Now, I think Domain has done a pretty good job over time of evolving to these changes and is still like a top performing deck in the format. But I worry for Sprite here because this build in particular looks more suited to dominate mid-range decks and looks like it is going to have a harder time with the lower to the ground, more aggressive decks.
Yes, as we take a look at Sprite's opponent here, Ashame is on Band Toxic. So you can see they have chosen a pretty is a pretty good deck choice. Now, deck
Mhm.
choices change from week to week here, and Ashame has brought Band Toxic against Sprite's 5-color ramp deck. So what do you think uh is Band Toxic looking to do here? Are they getting on the board? Are they trying to be sneaky, hold up these counter magic? Are they
Yeah,
just trying to get their
so
opponent dead?
yeah. So the name of the game, I mean, like I alluded to earlier, this deck was kind of designed to take down Domain Ramp. And, you see there are 12 different one drops in this list. Any of them are a good start for a Shame here. If you can start Skrelv, if you can start Rot Priest, go into a Jawbone Duelist, go into a Swirling Mist, go into a Skrelv Hive. I mean, the deck is just so low to the ground and stacks up those poison counters so quick. And what Domain is good at is managing their life total. If you are trying to just beat their life total down, they're really good at coming back from that. They can channel the herd spell, they can bring in the angels, Atraxas lifelink, they can stabilize their life total, but what they can't do is stabilize their poison count. So this just gets right underneath them, and I think is a very favored matchup here.
Yes, and we will see if Sprite will be able to fend off Ashame in this 5-color ramp Band Toxic matchup. We will be watching from the side of Sprite. That is our 5-color domain deck on the bottom. She's on the bottom of the screen. Ashame, our Band Toxic player, they are on the top of the screen. And an interesting opener here from Sprite.
Yeah, it is hard to. I mean, you're in some pretty awkward positions in this matchup because, um, I mean, I would have to double check the deck list, but I'm pretty sure Sprite doesn't have any main deck lockdowns. So
Hmm.
there's not really any chance of, wiping the board too quickly. But, there's also noticeably no white mana. Ooh, and this is
Ooh.
a tough mulligan, as this is just unkeepable. This is actually really good. I mean, even putting 2 cards away, getting to go Sparas into Proving Ground with a Leyline Binding and the Stomper on 3, it's almost like the ideal opening hand for Sprite.
Yeah, at least give Sprite some interaction here as things get going. And we see a Shami on the play here. How big is the play draw in this matchup?
I mean, it is pretty big. I mean, either way, Toxic is so favored against Domain, but with a hand like what Sprite has here, she would be in such a better position on the play. She could easily not have a poison counter right now. Uh, a lot more options to respond to what's happening and have better control over the situation, but ultimately it's still just so heavily favored for Toxic, but no 2-drop from Ashame is very interesting.
Yes, we see some of the 2-drops in Ashami's list being Bring the Ending, Experimental Augury, Serum Snare, and Reasonable Doubt. So do you think it's possible that Ashame they could be holding up counter magic here?
Yeah, I think they've gotta be, and I think this is once again just Sprite managing to hit kind of the ideal draw for them. The Serum Snare is just such a powerful tempo play. Getting to 3 poison counters is so huge for the Toxic deck. This turns all of those corrupted things online. I mean, if you think about it, Sprite's already 40% of the way to being out of this game.
Yeah, so we see Crawling Chorus just keeps getting in there. So Sprite down to 17 life, but more importantly, up to 4 poison. And it looks like Chrome Host Seed Shark going to try that one again. And it is uncounterable because of the Cavern of Souls.
Right. So this is huge because now if there is another snare or something, at least the 1 mana is up to binding while the shark is still on the battlefield. And that makes a really big token.
Yes. You see Charge of the Mites making a couple little 1/1s to get in. So Shame looking to go wide here, perhaps, against Sprite. The domain threats tend to be more 1-for-1s.
Yeah, I love this play from Ashame, really just committing to the aggressive strategy and really like the play from Sprite as well, just making sure that token gets made, making sure leyline binding happens, doesn't get countered.
Love it. Love it. And we see Serum Snare once again to bounce Chrome Host Sea Shark back to hand. And those 2 mites getting in. So after the proliferate and the attack for 2, Sprite is up to 7 poison. That has to be scary.
Yeah, that is very scary indeed. Now we do have the line of playing the Beseju. Okay, it looks like the Proving Ground. So playing the Beseju would have enabled us to activate the um the token and have another blocker. But maybe Sprite is just more concerned about getting that Archangel down on curve and clearing out those mites.
March of Swirling Mist, just for 1, just on the Chrome Host Seed Sharks. We see those 2 mites getting in once again, so up to 9. And Experimental Augury going to proliferate that last point of poison. So up to 10 goes Sprite. And game 1, would you say that went kind of how we were expecting?
Yeah, about how we were expecting. If anything, I would say Sprite showed more of a chance than we really expect out of this deck. And honestly, it really goes to show how tight the margins are in this matchup. Because, traditionally in domain, I think trying to curve out your angel is the play. But in that specific instance, had we had the second mana to activate the token, there's 1 more poison counter. They can't just proliferate us dead unless they have 2 cards. It could buy 1 more turn, which could be everything. I mean, you'd still be at 9, which is a dangerous number against this deck, but those margins are just razor thin.
Yes, and we see moving to sideboards here, taking a look at what works and what doesn't work. And Atraxa, Nissa, Invasion of Zendikar, not really getting on the board early, so not something that uh, Sprite is interested in here at all.
Yeah, I think taking out the long-term game plan in our ramp cards, and our Nissa and our Atraxa, and focusing on our short-term stabilizers. Those knockout blows are big. The lockdowns are huge. I think this is very, very good mulligan or sideboards from Sprite here.
Yes, so Sprite has another awkward 5 land, 2 spell hand, and both of those spells in this matchup more meant to kind of cycle. So
Yeah, now the Carnosaur can be good, maybe even more so on the play, and I wonder if Sprite is also considering that Beseju as sort of a third spell, as a lot of the creatures that Ashame wants to play are artifacts.
and also Skrelv's Hive is a
Mhm.
scary card, especially early on in the game as we see Venerated Rot Priest right out of the gate. So that's a tough one that we did not see in game 1. The 1/2 anytime any creature becomes the target of any spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. So very scary.
Yeah, that is a very scary card, especially depending on what ashame has to follow it up with, because I mean, one of the most devastating turns that Toxic can have, which they definitely don't because they don't have the green mana, is Rot Priest into Rot Priest, play a Swirling Mist, and just hit your opponent for like 5 poison counters on turn 2.
That would be brutal, but Jawbone Duelist, I think, scary enough by itself. The double striking 1/1 with Toxic 1 coming down. So this can threaten up to, that could put Sprite up to 4 poison next turn, as we see Lithomantic Barrage, great against Duelists, not so much against Rot Priest.
Yeah, so it's a pretty awkward position here because the Lithomantic Barrage is great against duelists, but it is made worse just by the fact that Rot Priest is here.
Yes. Carnosaur, however, does not, when it is discarded, would not trigger the Rot Priest, as it is not a spell, and it looks like that's what Sprite is going for here. What are your thoughts?
That's a really tough call. I mean, if you kill the Jawbone Duelist, you're still going to take a poison counter, and then you're taking another one from the Rot Priest next turn. So it's the same as if you leave the Jawbone Duelist alive. I think Rot Priest is, in general, the scarier card to let them have with mana up. So I think that's a very good discipline play from Sprite.
As we see, thinking about what to do here on Ashame's side, we have yet to see a third land from them. And there it is, and a pretty good one in the seed core before getting into the red zone for 1 and 2. So up to 3 goes Sprite, 3 Toxic. So once again, crossing that corrupted line. And just emptying the hand, Jawbone, Duelist, and Skrelv onto the battlefield. Take it all.
That is very, very tough. This is where having that Boseiju is so huge to let you deal with the Skrelv and one of the Jawbone Duelists. Now, another huge thing for Sprite this turn was actually drawing that Spar's Headquarters. Getting second White Pip online is crucial at this stage in the game, where now Lockdown, Depot, Sunfall are all live draws for her.
Yeah. Sunfall, digging for that Sunfall, I am sure, as Jawbone Duelist once again into the red zone for 4 and 5, up to 5 toxins. And the third Duelist we see from Ashame, as Leyline Binding was the draw, and not a terrible draw here, but not being able to clear the entire battlefield might spell doom for our domain player.
Yeah, I mean, Sprite is in a very tricky position here. Definitely going to 7 poison minimum. They do have she does have a Triome that can be cycled, which gives us another look at a board wipe, but we're really getting into the danger zone where proliferate spells start to present very real threats.
And the Leyline Binding does happen to exile 1 Jawbone Duelist, but yet again, there is still another Jawbone Duelist out on the battlefield getting in, and as of right now, nothing Sprite can do about it. And with 5 mana open, Ashame has pretty much just free reign of whatever they'd like to do. Another land and another land for Sprite. Oh, that's painful.
Yeah, so we need to be very careful with the auto tapper here, because if we leave up the 2 white, Lockdown is still online as an out. It looks like auto tapper is going to tap down that second white, but Lithomantic Barrage probably our best hit off the top there.
Yes, Lithomantic Barrage going to get in. Cannot be countered. Let's see if Ashame has anything that they can do about this. Bounce the Jawbone back to hand, or March of Swirling Mist.
March, yeah. The other scary thing for Sprite here is Mirex is online for Ashame.
Mm.
Doesn't look like we're going to see it this turn. Oh, we are.
Oh, that is what is going to happen here. So Lithomantic Barrage at 7 Toxic. Sprite can't afford to miss here. March of Swirling Mist. So going to make sure that there won't be a second removal spell for the Might on the back end, perhaps, as
Yeah,
land is going to
that
come
is,
down.
I mean, that is just lethal, right? That is
That is
3
that is
toxic.
3 toxic and getting in, and Sprite realizing there is nothing that she can do here. So going to go to 10 toxic, and Ashame is going to take that one down. Bant toxic over 5 color ramp, 2 games to none, but good games to both of our players. I feel Sprite's pain. I played that matchup actually last week, and it's tough. It takes a lot of discipline to play and to even attempt to win. And I had some main deck temporary lockdown, so it's tough matchup, but played very well by both sides. And both players had been 5-1 going into that. So at 6-1, Ashame locking up their playoff spot at the top of Division 16. Sprite still got a pretty good shot at, if not top 2 in Division 16, then making the wild card rounds. So good luck to our players in the playoffs. But wow, what a way to kick us off.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well played by both of our players. I mean, that is a brutal matchup. And, Sprite not expecting her opponent to bring Toxic, did not have the build of Domain that is even like aiming to survive Toxic. I wouldn't even say is favored against Toxic. You're never favored against Toxic, but, not even one of the builds that's more adapted to it. I think she played very, very well, played to her outs, but that is a difficult matchup.
Yes, she did definitely play well, battled hard, and we hope to see her in the future rounds. And now it's on to our next matchup here tonight. We're sending another player, at least one more, at least 3 more tonight to the playoffs. We're going to pop on over to Division 11 with Robin, who is 5-1 as well, and an Azorius control deck. Blue-white control. Is it 2014 or what? Tell me. Like, because I love it. We've seen No More Lies back on the scene. There's just enough sweepers, enough counter magic, and enough card draw in. It's not Elspeth, but the Wandering Emperor makes some tutus and stuff. So what do you think of Azorius control as a standard archetype, as one of the most popular actually at the
Mhm.
moment?
I am obsessed with this deck. This might be my favorite deck in Standard right now. So much of the reason why I love playing it is the card Deduce. I wish they would let me run 8 of these cards. It feels like back when Bankbuster was legal, where you just get to hold up interaction and then you're not punished for not having to play it because you just say, okay, I'll deduce. I'll draw a card, I'll make a clue. It feels so good. It feels so incredible. There's so many. It is a deck full of answers, right? No More Lies is an incredible soft permission counterspell. Get Lost handles basically every threat in the format. Uh, you've got in this build, cards like Farewell, you've got Lockdown. Wandering Emperor has to be one of the most incredible planeswalkers ever printed. Memory Deluge just solves all your problems, forgives all your sins. I love this deck. I am excited to see Robin play it.
Yes, looking forward to this matchup as we check out Robin's opponent. They will be playing against NessaMeowMeow on Rakdos Midrange. Now, at 4-2, Nessa is fighting for her playoff life here. Decided to show up with Rakdos midrange over the plethora of midrange decks we've seen Esper midrange, Dimir midrange, Golgari midrange are all running rampant in Standard right now. But what would the advantages of playing Rakdos over these other mid-range decks be?
I mean, Rakdos is very strong right now. I mean, any deck in Standard that goes Bat on turn 2, really good card on turn 3, is in such a great position, especially in this matchup. This is something Ness is going to be wanting in her opening hands, is curving out Bat into Preacher, Bat into even an Inti. Cards like Duress from the sideboard, Obnix. I bet Nessa's wishing she had brought 4 Obnix on the sideboard. That card is devastating for blue-white control. I am so intrigued to see how this match goes because I think it's unlike the match we saw before Toxic versus Ramp, I think this is so much closer to even. And it could really swing either way depending on how these players play and how they draw and just how the decks line up.
All right, I'm ready to get into it. We are going to be watching Robin on Azorius control. They are playing against Nessa, who is on Rakdos midrange. We're watching from the side of Robin, our Azorius control player. Can't wait to see this one go. And we see 3 lands, 4 spells from Robin, a couple of counter spells, some cheap interaction here. Thoughts on this opener?
I mean, it is pretty good. You wish one of these No More Lies was a deduce, but you're still like pretty happy to have it. This is such a good start for Nessa, though.
Yes, we can see Nessa taking a look and going double no more. You got 2 pair. Robin has,
Yeah.
Robin's got 2 pair here. So taking one of the get lost, saying you want that back, you're going to have to use one of your other premium removal spells on my 1/1 lifelink flyer.
Right. And I mean, the thing about playing against these control decks is, you can really just like commit stuff to the board and just not commit more to the board. I love playing the Preacher. I think that is too good to not play, and it basically prices Robin into get losting it. But we'll see. We'll see how this turn goes.
It looks like Robin is going to allow the attack here. So Nessa will draw a card, lose a life, and Robin going to drop down to 17. Is there something that Robin is more scared of at 4 mana from NessaMeowMeow?
Absolutely, Shieldred is a huge threat to Robin. I mean, even cards like Liliana can be huge. I'm a little surprised Robin allowed this map token to go off on the Preacher. Second Preacher is tough.
Looks like Robin wants to draw a card there and does draw a 4th land followed by a 5th land. Now, Robin, still early in the game, really wanted to make that 4th land drop. Do you think that they were prioritizing drawing that 4th land over wanting to kill one of these preachers?
Yeah, so Robin knows that they have Sunfall on 5. And they've pretty much put Nessa in a position where she cannot commit more things to the board because they both know about the Sunfall. And she also knows that her deck can take some early beats and they can get their life total a little low and still bounce back from it. Now, the tricky thing about this specific set of decisions is this has allowed Nessa to draw 3 cards.
Yes, Preacher is still getting in there and 6 damage coming across. So Robin is at 11 life, which while not being all that low is still pretty, getting down there. Started, once you drop into the single digits, things might get a little more precarious for the Azorius control player. And it's a wonder what Nessa is thinking about here. Like you said, do you think she's considering committing more to the board?
There's no way Nessa's considering putting more on the board. Like we said, they both know about this Sunfall. Eternal Wanderer off this Memory Deluge is pretty huge, I think, for Robin. We'll see if she decides to pick it up. I mean, again, I would run 8 to Deuce if they let me run 8 to Deuce, so I wouldn't be horribly surprised.
Yes, as we see Robin taking a look, does have the 5th land in hand, is looking at taking a Field of Ruin and the Mirrex. So prioritizing having these specialty lands to be able to make land drops and to protect against perhaps the creature lands with Field of Ruin.
Yeah, Field of Ruin has one job in this matchup, and that is to take care of the creature land, or the Mirrex if it's one of the builds that runs Mirrexes.
As we see, Nessa does have 2 Restless Vents in her list as the Sunfall does come to pass. So Robin will get a 2/2 Incubate token, and Deep Cavern Bats coming down to take another little look as Robin is tapped out now.
Yeah, so this is a really great follow-up from Nessa. Getting to understanding the blue-white player's hand is so crucial in this matchup because it makes it so much easier to play around what they're working with. So Nessa knows there are no board wipes. With the 2 bats, she is now taking care of all the kill spells, and she's just saying, "Okay, I'm gonna commit to the board, and I'm just going to hope to dodge, you drawing a board wipe," which I think is totally reasonable.
We see Robin's Draw is an Elspeth Smite, a 2 of in the main deck. Elspeth Smite is an instant that deals 3 damage to target attacking or blocking creature, and if that creature would die this turn, exile it instead. So Nessa does not know about that one.
Yeah, Nessa does not, and that is gonna be crucial as it allows for some, cascading plays here. And we saw Robin there prioritizing taking care of the caverns, which I think is totally reasonable, holding these 2 No More Lies. Um, yeah, this deck takes so much patience to play, and I think we are really seeing Robin, uh, play it very patiently.
And we see Inti coming down. That one Cavern of Souls was on human, but no longer, as it was fielded away. So Normalize can take care of Inti if Robin decides they would like to fire off their Normalize.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough proposition. I think I might be a little tempted to, just because these No More Lies are becoming blanker and blanker cards as the game goes on. And we would still be live to draw a Sunfall or clue token into a Sunfall. But being able to Elspeth Smite with the Inti trigger on the Harvester, it's not bad.
Yes, as we see, Tenacious Underdog was the hit off of the Inti after discarding the Geological Appraiser. So Tenacious Underdog going to cast No More Lies. So that will exile the Tenacious Underdog, which is a big win for Robin here, I would think.
Yeah, that is enormous, getting to handle that graveyard creature. I also want to highlight what a heads up play that was from Nessa last turn. She is aware of these Elspeth Smites, and even though she knew every card but one in Robin's hand, she still decided it was just not worth it to attack with these bats and risk uh, Robin getting these kill spells back, getting the Emperor back. I thought that was very heads up. That was very smart play.
We see Gix being discarded off of the blood, which trigger the NT. So a cut down will be in Nessa's pseudo hand until the end of this turn. So that could take care of either of the restless anchorages that Robin has in play if Nessa is feeling a little more frisky here. But Field of Ruin kind of has the restless fence covered. I don't know if Nessa can get into attacks here.
Yeah, I mean, having the cut down is honestly pretty huge. It keeps Robin from really realistically being able to activate the anchorages. It also keeps them from being able to activate the Sphyrexian token. It puts her in a pretty tight spot and lets Nessa get in for three more points of damage, taking Robin down to 8, which is, as you mentioned before, we're getting into the dangerous numbers.
All right, this is a big memory deluge here. Taking a look, temporary lockdown. Looks like a pretty big hit here, as well as a Wandering Emperor or Sunfall Depopulate. It's pick your sweeper.
Yeah, so Robin knows that they are going to get a Wandering Emperor off of this Sunfall. So it looks like they chose to just take the planes instead, which this keeps the Field of Ruin online.
So that Restless Vents still can't get in. And Nessa says that's enough. Kind of knowing where she's at in this control. Once you untap, you got no cards in hand. Your opponent's the control player. They have 4 or 5 cards in hand. They've got 12 lands in play and incubate tokens. I think it was fair for Nessa to tap out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And against a deck like this, playing to the clock is very real and very smart. These games are bound to go long, and you don't want to lose to time. So I think, once you get sort of to this late in the game against blue-white control and you are tapped out of resources and they just are presenting so many more resources than you, I think tapping out there is actually a very smart move from Nessa.
And we see moving to sideboards here. Taking a look, it looks like Tishana's Tide Binders are coming in, and some Seed Sharks. Any thoughts on the sideboarding here? And if one deck opposed to the other has a bigger advantage post sideboard?
Yeah, I mean, I think probably I would say Rakdos mid is bringing in more impactful cards for the matchup. Bringing in Duresses, bringing in Omnics. Those are huge cards against blue-white control. In this matchup, the Rakdos mid Duress might as well be a counterspell of their own. But that is not to say that the blue-white control cards we're seeing boarded in aren't impactful. Um, we're more ways to handle creatures. The Tidebinders, which deal with so many of these like impactful triggers from Rakdos mid. I think it's still a pretty tight match.
Yes, and we see Nessa on the play this time around. Robin down to 6 cards on a mulligan, and off to the races we go, seeing a Tidebinder on top, wanting to keep that with that Surveil land. And Nessa is going to start us off with a Tenacious Underdog.
Yeah, Tenacious Underdog, pretty good here. Gix is very good. Definitely a tempting No More Lies target, but Get Lost also deals with it.
All right, Underdog going to get in for 3. So Robin down to 17. A Sunken Citadel the draw for turn. Has the Tishana's Tidebinder, and then going to play out the Otawara. Having the 2 channel lands in the Sunken Citadel looked like Robin wasn't too thrilled about playing a channel land, but went ahead and played the Otawara here.
Yeah, I mean, I think keeping X equals 2 March online is reason enough to play your lands that way. Exiling the underdog is just so valuable.
See, Duress going to take care of that No More Lies, and Preacher of the Schism. No, it's free and clear to join the battlefield here. No problems. So Sunken Citadel going to come on down, naming white. And Nessa has both players with 3 cards in hand. Nessa has a good idea about what's going on in Robin's hand, knowing about the Tidebinder and the Iganjo. Going to start by mapping on the Preacher, revealing a Sulfur Springs. Will this second map get cracked?
We saw it not get cracked, which tells us that there is something Nessa wants to play. And it's, I think, hoping Robin will tap out to let her play it.
And we will see, yes, as we see a 5th land and a second Preacher of the Schism. And the map on this one immediately going to reveal yet another Sulphur Springs. March of Otherworldly Light, the draw for Robin here. So Tidebinder and Otherworldly Light in Robin's hand. Nothing really to make any sort of card advantage or anything like that right now. Restless Fence going to get fired up. And the question is, what's going to happen here? Tidebinder can stop this ability, or a March on 0 would take care of the land.
Yeah, it is a tricky situation. Because Tidebinder can also stop the attack trigger from the land, and then it's a creature, so it shuts it off more permanently. But Tidebinder can also stop the Preacher trigger from happening, and there's still enough mana left up to deal with the land with the March. So I mean, there's a lot of paths here.
Yeah, we'll see. It looks like the Preacher trigger will be allowed to happen, as will the Restless Fence trigger. So going to discard a Blackcleave Cliffs and draw a card. And Robin deciding what to do before damage, as this would be 4 damage coming across. March for 0 on the Restless Fence. That will resolve, and Preacher is free to get in. So down to 12 goes Robin.
Yeah, I'm honestly a little surprised to see Robin not play the Tidebinder. That tells me that they are more worried about some of the other cards. Maybe even NT is one of them, maybe Shieldred. Um, Clearly, they think there's something more valuable than the Tidebinder,
Yeah,
or
we
than
see.
the two threats that were presented.
See NT getting in here. Nessa discarding a swamp to the NT trigger. Target in the it's going to target itself, putting a +1/+1 counter, giving it trample. Wandering Emperor going to come down here. Now, with both of these triggers on the stack, Nessa draws cards either way with both Preacher and NT. So it'll be interesting to see what does Robin want to exile here.
Yeah, it's a pretty tricky situation. Um, I mean, your Tidebinder can come out next turn as a 3/2, which is not particularly amazing against either of these threats.
Yes, as NT is bound to grow here, would be a 3/3 momentarily. So we'll see what the choice will be. Definitely an interesting one. Scary because now Nessa knows the only card that Robin has in hand is this Tidebinder, while Nessa has 4 cards in hand and is about to get a 5th, and the Blood Tithe Harvester that can be cast until end of turn. So lots of card advantage happening for our mid-range player as opposed to our Azorius control player.
Yeah, I think if you're Robin right now, you are really hoping to just rip one of your board wipes off the top. But I mean, looks like she has smelled blood. She is committing to the board. Um, she is willing to take the chance that Robin rips a board wipe and just say, "All right, this is when I push my damage."
Yeah, and it looks like Robin's saying, I don't got it, because cashing in that Wandering Emperor for a 2/2 is looks a little desperate. So
Yeah, you get put in a pretty awkward position, because you can plus the Emperor onto nothing, but then they can just attack out the Emperor and just kill it, or even just ignore the Emperor and deal enough damage to put you in like a pretty dangerous spot.
yeah, that Bitter Triumph going to take care of the Tidebinder and Archfiend of the
Ooh,
Dross. That's a big threat. And now
yeah.
getting in, Indy's going to pump something up. If this 2/2 dies, Archfiend will drain.
Yeah, and I really love putting the counter on the Harvester there. It just made it to where there were no good blocks. Nessa has to hit a board wipe off the top of their deck. There's no 2 mana board wipe. I guess maybe a lockdown and an untap land. I mean, even that just doesn't do enough.
Doesn't quite do it. So we are going to go to a game 3 here between our two Division 11 players, Azorius Control versus Rakdos Midrange. Any changes to the sideboarding plan here before game 3?
Looks like we're taking the Tidebinders out, bringing some more of the counter spells back in.
That's what it looks like. Tidebinder didn't quite work out in that matchup, so going to shave those. We see Azorius Control on the play here, so maybe that makes a difference. Meticulous Archive going to kick us off. 4 lands, 3 spells in hand. Going to rush that land into the graveyard and pass the turn. And we are off here. Game number 3 in week 7 of VML. A win here would definitely send either of our players to the playoffs. A loss and things aren't as certain. Gotta watch breakers and things like that. So
Yeah, starting with the duress there is so powerful for Nessa. The only thing stronger would have been if she could go duress into bad on turn 2, but this is still really the kind of start you're looking for against a deck like this.
here we see Chrome Host Seed Shark, not a bad board presence, kind of gumming things up a little bit. For this Blood Tithe Harvester, can't really get in there, but Ob Nixilis
Ooh.
is a a card that you had mentioned that Nessa had been hoping to see. Very good against these control decks.
Yeah, this is a huge draw for Robin, or sorry, for Nessa. Obnix is just such an annoying threat to deal with. There's two of them. I mean, there's not really a clean way to answer Obnix. And I think attacking it down has to be your priority if you're Robin.
Right. And Obnixilus and Obnixilus's evil twin brother, who is, they're both evil, I guess, right? So, and it's going to take one of them down to 2 loyalty, but the other one's still at 4, and it's going to be plussing every time. And Robin not wanting to let go of any of these cards in hand, just holding on. Eternal Wanderer, Memory Deluge, and Deduce, hoping to perhaps get something going here and be able to remove these Obnixiluses before they need to start discarding before losing life. And No More Lies will be the draw, as we see Inti had come down on the side of Nessa.
Yeah, I mean, Robin's just in such an awkward spot because of these Obnixes.
We see one of them go down, but the other Obnixilus is at 5, and that's pretty hefty.
Yeah, it is very hefty. We do have the benefit of being able to cast some spells and make multiple incubate tokens next turn. So likely that Omnix gets dealt with next turn, but still, this one card has taken Robin's life total down by half. I mean, that is how effective and how powerful this card is in the matchup.
Yeah, Robin finally letting go of the Eternal Wanderer, saying, all right, I can't take any more damage. And Inti is going to get into the red zone, discarding a copy of Restless Fence, putting a counter on the Inti. And we see a second Preacher of the Schism being revealed here. The question is, oh, No More Lies, looking to take care of that. And that will make 2 incubate tokens. So 2 2/2s possibly on the way for Robin. As Bitter Triumph going to try to take care of one of the Chrome Host Seed Sharks and going to Deduce in response. So now an army of 2 2s for Robin.
Yeah, absolutely. And this does open up a lot of opportunity for Robin. Namely, I mean, we have enough tokens that if we commit our mana to it, we can just kill Obnix this turn. Now, the scary thing is Nessa is presenting 6 damage next turn. So it's really just such an awkward spot.
So is there something to, what would Robin be worried about here if they were to overcommit to killing this Obnixilis?
So you're definitely worried about the crackback because, you know, NT attacks again, pumps up the Restless Vents, pumps up himself. Looks like only attacking Obnix with a couple things.
Oh, so
Keeping up mana for the Field of Ruin.
Like it. Obnixilis down to 2. So able to plus again here. Memory Deluge going to hit the bin. Might be able to cast that one later if Robin is able to survive that long. And yeah, Inti and Restless Fence on the side of Nessa. Nessa has 2 cards in hand. Let's see what she can do here.
Yeah, so planning to just discard the Memory Deluge does set Robin up in like a pretty decent position. Ooh, Shieldred is tough though.
Shieldred is a tough one to beat for sure. Map Blood Tithe Harvester on the top of the deck. Gonna put that one in the bin. Needing to draw here. Oh, and you know, how about drawing more cards, right?
Painful, painful.
That hurts. That hurts. So Deduce, maybe not exactly what Robin wanted to see here. So looking to activate a few more of these incubate tokens, still leaving up that Field of Ruin. Shieldred's just going to jump in front of one and eat one token, but Obnixil is finally going down after doing some work.
Yeah, I think this is a very dangerous play because we are now setting ourselves up to be dead to basically any removal. Now, the good thing about the incubate tokens is they will dodge Go for the Throats. They will not dodge Bitter Triumphs. These ones will not dodge Cutdowns. And if Shieldred does 5 to us, we take 2 off the draw trigger.
Oh man, Deep Cavern Bat to start things off. So Robin, Nessa saying, Robin, I know you only have one card in hand, but I want it. So that deduce will go away. Now Nessa not able to activate the Restless Fence because Robin could not have transformed an incubator and Field of Ruined. So
Right, and if Nessa has a kill spell, it looks like she does not, which is very good for Robin. Gives us at least one more turn. A Sunfall off the top would be enormous. Depop.
a lot of draws here in Robin's deck. Restless Anchorage, probably not one of them.
I think you do have to dig for it a little.
Now, with one clue available, Robin does have another draw, but definitely a scary place to be, dropping down to 3. That Restless Fence does have Menace, so it's a little more difficult to block. Just going to play out the Restless Anchorage tapped and say go. Nessa drawing a card up to 21. So her life total very... And that Liliana that had been on top, we'll see. It looks like she's going down. Makes sense. Looking to sacrifice the token. The Phyrexian Incubator will go away. And this is a big attack here.
Yeah, I really like this from Nessa. It puts Robin in the position where they can't just triple block Shieldred with tokens. If they want to kill Shieldred this turn, she is going to have to triple block it with the Shark, which is a pretty scary proposition.
Yes, definitely a terrifying place to be. Still wouldn't get the deduce back, would only have the clue to crack, and then would still have to deal with the Restless Fence after untapping. Unable to keep any cards in hand because of Liliana. We got both players empty-handed.
Ooh.
And it looks like the triple block is happening.
I mean, it is not the position that you want to be in, but you know, there are some potential outs here. But going down to one life is very scary when that Restless Fence is online.
Yes.
You know, when that's not what you want to see.
Yeah. So looking to draw, even with the Restless Anchorage in play, it just can't be. And just land after land. Sunken Citadel, the draw. So, you know, couldn't Memory Deluge, couldn't quite get there. So it looks like Nessa might have this one wrapped up.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's any way. We are going to see the concession from Robin.
Yes, and hard fought, sorely won. And Nessa is going to take that one down 2-1 on Rakdos Midrange over Robin, our Azorius control player. That makes both players 5-2. So I would say a pretty good shot that they both are in the playoffs in one capacity or another, whether they are at the top of the division or whether they make it to the wild card round. So well played to both of our players. That was quite a tight match.
Yeah, I think what we really saw there in game 3 was how effective of a sideboard piece Obnix is against these control decks. I mean, what other 3-drop in Nessa's deck was going to deal 10 damage to Robin before Robin could deal with it?
Like you said, half of Robin's life total got just from one card. Well, I guess Blood Tithe Harvester helped too. So,
Sure.
but
Yeah. But, you know, Blood Tithe paired with any other card is just not dealing that much damage to Robin over that many turns.
right.
They've just got too many ways to deal with
That
creatures on the board.
definitely impressive showing. An impressive showing by Rakdos Midrange. Well played. Good games. Congrats to Nessa on the win. And we are ready for our next matchup. We're going to send more players to the playoffs this week here at the VML. Thanks to Wizards of the Coast for their sponsorship of this awesome league. And we take a look at Nigekki at 4-2 in division number 4, also playing Rakdos Midrange. Now, something that we didn't really get into, some of these Rakdos midrange decks, like the one we see here, it's Inti, playing 4 of Inti and extra kicks, and like you don't see as many like trumpeting carnosaurs and like the big, but a lot of these Rakdos midrange decks have been lower to the ground. And why do you think that is? Is it better against the other mid-range decks in the format? Like how standard is trending? Like, is it better to be lower to the ground for the more popular decks against, Esper, against Golgari, against those kind of decks?
Yeah, I mean, I think this goes back to what we were saying earlier about just the health of standard right now, that even within archetypes, there's so much legitimate deviation between that archetype. Like both both of these Rakdos mid decks are very, very viable lists. Bringing your lower to the ground stuff definitely has its advantages against the decks that are trying to take you into a longer game, um, decks that are more concerned with their life total. I think an aggressive Rakdos aggro almost is a very good build.
Yeah, I love seeing this. Mono red decks dumped Reckless Stormseeker, and Rakdos midrange was like, no, I'll take it. Like this is this is great. This card's awesome, and I love it. I love playing these powerful, like the powerful curves, the 2 into 3 into 4 of these really super like top end cards. They're just so powerful. Archfiend of the Dross, Shieldred. Love seeing them. Love seeing them in play. And we're going to take a look at Nigekki's opponent this week is Amy on Dimir midrange. Now, talk about low to the ground. This deck is playing 1-drops in Spyglass Siren. It has the Deep Cavern Bats, Fairy Masterminds, a flash 2-drop. So we see an even lower curve here. And I know I love the card Cryptic Coat. There is one of in this deck, and I think that is such a fun and interesting magic card. Love seeing it. Obviously, we see, Shieldred and some of the Subterranean Schooners still in. Any thoughts about this Dimir mid-range deck and how it measures up against other mid-range decks? I suppose Rakdos in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of the mid-range decks in standard right now are kind of in this contentious battle for which one is the best against the mid-range piles. And I think there's an archetype unto itself of just deck that plays Bat plus cards that you think are good follow-ups to Bat. And I think we see that in the Dimir list. I think we see that in the Rakdos lists. Something I really like about the Dimir list is that so much of it can be played on your opponent's instep. So you really get to do the thing I said about why I enjoy playing Deduce so much, where you get to hold up interaction. And then if you don't end up needing it, you just flash in a Fairy Mastermind. You just flash in an Urtai. Like you do whatever you need to do. And especially with cards like Gix, that really can surprise your opponents and generate card advantage for you before they expected you to be able to do so.
I love it. It's like how you had mentioned in the Azorius control Azorius control match earlier, the no more lies. And if you don't have no more lies, if you don't have anything to counter, just play Deduce.
Exactly.
This is great. And I should petition Wizards to let you play 8. So
yes, please, everyone, right? Wizards, let me specifically play 8 Deduces.
And only you.
Only me. It's my special treat.
I love it. I love it. And I cannot wait to see these two players battle. We've got Nigekki at 4-2, Amy at 5-1. Nigekki is our Rakdos mid-range player on the bottom of your screen. And on the top of your screen, we have Amy, our Dimir mid-range player. Let's go. And it looks like Nigekki happy with her 7. and Amy taking a second to look at hers.
Yeah, so this
And
is the second mulligan for Amy.
mm,
First one, just one swamp. Second one, no black mana. I think going down to 5 was the disciplined and correct choice, and it looks like based on the hand she ended up with, it really paid off.
yeah, 3 lands and all castable cards. What more could you ask for? As Nigekki started off with a tap land and, having a plethora of different lands here to play. A painful land, double painful lands, and sulfurous springs. A haunted Risha would also come in tapped and prevent Nigekki from playing a 2-drop. So going to play out the Sokenzin and playing out Blood Tithe Harvester to start things off on her side of the battlefield. And we see Gix. Now, that is one way to recover lost cards from a double mulligan for Amy.
Yeah, I mean, that is basically the best thing Amy could draw. Again, we talked about Bat plus card. That's a good follow up to Bat. Gix is one of the best follow ups to Bat. The 1/1 lifelink just cancels out the 1 damage you have to take from Gix to draw a card. Really, really love that from Amy. And, even getting this Bat guild, she will still be able to do the same with the Siren and Gix.
Yeah, and Nigekki really wanting that Reckless Stormseeker back. So wanting to trade the Harvester for a Bat, but then Gix coming down, Spyglass Siren drawing a card, make it disappear. So 3 cards in both players' hands, but down comes this Archfiend of the Dross, and that packs a punch. 7 damage coming across.
Yeah, that is a big, big threat.
And Amy also aware of double Inti in Nigekki's hand. Now, Inti's trigger not only gives a +1/+1 counter, but also gives trample. So that flying, was it Flample? Flample is quite
Yeah.
scary. So it looks like Amy saying, you know what, I'm getting in. Let's get these Gix triggers. Let's see what we got. A Dark Shores and a Deep Cavern Bat. So thinking about casting it, but
Yeah, so I think Amy's gonna be pretty sad when she sees that there are 2 inties of this hand.
yes.
Um, but I think that was the right call, as your make disappear is just probably not gonna do much, especially if they are playing inti.
Yeah. But it looks like an attack all should be lethal here with the Inti trigger. Going to discard one of the 2 lands in hand as Nigekki is now out of cards, but that doesn't matter because the game looks like it is about to end as Sheoldred enters that exile zone, and Amy is going to agree and tap out of game 1. So that was a very quick game 1 for Nigekki, our Rakdos mid-range player here.
Yeah, I think anything but inti number 2 there, and Amy's pretty happy to be playing Bat. Um, I did wonder if she was going to consider keeping up Otawara mana, because she did have Gix on board, so it only costs 3, um, and holding that up to use, but I think trying to answer the problems instead of just delaying the problems was probably the right call. Just didn't work out because there were 2 inties.
Right, we see some cruelty of Gix's coming in, double Gix's command, and an Aklazot's Deepest Betrayal also in the deck. Let's take a look about what is going to be coming out. So, dropping down on those Reckless Storm Seekers. So, after playing such a pivotal role in game 1, why do you think we're seeing those come out here?
Well, one big thing is Nigekki is going to be playing this game on the draw. So that matters a lot in terms of the effectiveness of the Stormseeker. I think also both players are just more likely to bring in their answers for these threats and bring in cards like the Bat God. Life totals just matter so much in this matchup. We even saw in that last game, Nigekki played Sokenzan on turn 2 when there were other lands to play because the other lands that she could play were pain lands. And if you're trying to play a Blood Tithe Harvester, that 1 point of damage could be relevant in a match like this.
Yes. As we see, these mid-range matchups can definitely be close. So taking a good long look at the sideboard, making sure that she has everything she would want. And we move over to Amy's side, Dimir, and it looks like happy to bring in those disdainful strokes and shave down on the fairy masterminds. Thoughts about bringing in strokes against the cards like Archfiend of the Draw, Shieldred. Now there's 4 Archfiend and 1 Shieldred in the main, and then 2 Gix's command. But as we saw, Nigekki did bring in some Cruelty of Gix and Aclazats and things like that. What are your thoughts about having Disdainful Stroke here?
Yeah, I mean, I think Disdainful Stroke just counters the things that you are most likely to have problems with. Like resolving an Aclazotz is so devastating in this matchup. There's not really clean ways to deal with it. So I think prioritizing for dealing with that and dealing with those other top end cards like the ones you mentioned is pretty smart plays from Amy here.
Love to see it as we move on to game number 2. And Amy going to ship back that first hand, keeping a bit of an underwhelming hand on 6, but not willing to go to 5.
Yeah, definitely a little bit underwhelming. I mean, turn 1 to rest can be pretty nice. And, seeing that Nigekki has this 2-lander.
I heard you like Archfiend of the Draws.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so many.
Yeah, I mean, at least Amy's hand does play. This is a huge draw from Nigekki.
Yes. We see it. Nigekki just pushing the Inti out onto the battlefield into this 2 open mana, saying, you know what? It's either make disappear or a fairy mastermind. If you want to make disappear it, so be it. But wanting to tax Amy there on turn 2.
Yeah, and I really like the discipline, the patience from Amy. She knows about the Gix. She's just saving the make disappear.
We see Inti discarding one of the 3 Archfiend of the Draws to draw a card. Inti is in the red zone, so down to 17 goes Amy, and we have Nigekki at 18. And land number 3, more importantly, being played on Nigekki's side as Preacher of the Schism is the draw on Amy's side. Definitely a good way to regain some cards.
Yeah, it's pretty tough though, because Amy is in this position where she cannot hold up make disappear on the turn that she knows the Gix can come down if she plays Preacher. So I like going for this map token instead and holding up the interaction.
Love it. We see the map revealing a deep cavern bat on top. So Amy thinking about what to do with this bat, and it looks like it will stay on top.
Yeah, we are going to see the cut down come down on the Fairy Mastermind.
Liliana of the Veil, another powerful 3-drop, especially when Amy only has 2 cards in hand. Well, now 1 card in hand. But Inti looking to get in once again.
I mean, Inti is just forgiving all of Nigekki's sins right now. Being able to, sort of filter these draws out and make these land drops.
Love to see it. Deep Cavern Bat, going to take a little look and going to say, Nigekki, I will take your 1 castable card, please. Don't draw anything else. Speaking of castable cards, a second Inti, not what Nigekki probably wants to see here. So that's going to immediately hit the bin. Now, at what point after missing 4th land drop, well, I spoke too soon. After, would this Cruelty of Gix be like, it's time to go? Like, there has to be a point.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty tough decision. I mean, I do like that the NT draw there just becomes NT fodder. I mean, these Archfiends are going to start coming down, which is a pretty big problem for Amy.
Yes, and we see getting in for another 3. So we're going to have both. Oh, sorry. The Nigekki will drop down to 10, but Amy does go up to 11, deciding not to attack with the Restless Reef there, instead playing the Preacher of the Schism. As we see, there's land number 5 for Nigekki. So taking a look at the graveyard, saying, is there anything juicy that I can grab? Because Amy doesn't have any cards in hand. So Cruelty of Gix reading ahead, most likely to chapter 2, or even more likely to chapter 3 at this point, if there was anything to bring back. Inti can discard the Archfiend, but then would be attacking into a Preacher. What do you think the play is here?
It's really tough. There's so many lines here. I mean, you obviously can go for the cruelty and try to set something up with one of the creatures in the yard. I kind of like just playing out one of the Archfiends. A 6/6 flyer is just no joke, especially if NT lives for a turn and can make it a 7/7 flying trampler.
Yeah, that would be a pretty big Archfiend and hard to block. Restless Reef on the ground has Death Touch, so does Preacher, but they're both bound to the ground. So those flyers don't tend to have as much toughness. We see actually going to discard the Cruelty of Gix after holding on to it.
Yeah, so, this does push 1 more damage, which I'm not sure how much that matters. I mean, that does put Amy at an even life total, which does matter for these Archfiend triggers.
Yes, and we see a second Archfiend come down. So, like you said, any of Amy's creatures that die will be 4 damage.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of checkmate for Amy because
Yes.
if she doesn't block, she goes down to 2 life, and then any creature dying loses her the game.
Yeah.
If she does block, she loses 4 life, and then any creature dying loses her the game.
Yeah. So that make disappear, not what Amy wanted to see from the top of her deck. So it looks like this might just be it, with triple Restless Fence in play and 2 huge flyers. It doesn't look like Amy has a chance to do anything here. Cruelty of Gix going to be the draw. And Nigekki can cast it to take a look at Amy's hand, but I think this might just be it.
Yeah, I mean, there's just nothing here. I'm trying to think about what Amy could have.
Make disappear.
Sure.
Countered. You do not get your Cruelty of Gix. Deep Cavern back. Gonna jump in front of one of the Archfiends, but it does not matter. Don't even need the triggers, because one Archfiend gets on through. So we see Nigekki gonna take that mid-range matchup down 2-0. So Nigekki and Amy both now at 5-2. So it looks like both of those players somehow, some way, going to make it into the playoffs, whether it be at the top of their divisions, wild card rounds. They are both in. Well played to both of our players, and good luck in the future weeks. So excited, and I get more excited because we are about to hit our last feature match of the evening tonight. Now, remember, these players are playing for a lot. There's a lot on the line. The VML playoffs, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. There are arena qualifier badges. We have the top 8 making the regional championships. The top 8 also get invites to the VML champs, where there will be 2 Pro Tour invites. So big deal, and besides there's, cash money. So, which is always great, always great.
Right,
so
right.
These players battling, bringing their best, and we are about to watch our last feature match of the evening from Division 14. We have Anna at 4-2 on Esper Midrange, our most popular deck this week. So take a look. Rafine Scheming Seer, still just a number 1, has some new toys and cards like No More Lies and Cryptic Coat. This was a deck we were talking about earlier. It has obviously changed, but it's still Esper. What are your thoughts about this list?
Yeah, I mean, we talked earlier about how Esper Mid is a deck that has just stood the test of time in Standard. This has been a deck that has just existed in the top of the meta and evolved as each new set is released over the past like couple years. This still falls into the archetype of plays bat on 2, plays thing that's a good follow up to bat on 3, except it's one of the best follow ups with Rafine. But it also just gets to play all of the most powerful cards in the Esper colors, which are very powerful right now. It gets to play No More Lies. It gets to play Wandering Emperor. It gets to play Urtai. It can play Gix if it really wants to. Like there's just so many ways that this Esper list can go, and basically all of them are so powerful. I really love Esper Mid as an archetype in Standard.
Love it. I love it. And we are going to take a look at Anna's opponent this week, Andrea. Andrea is on Dimir Midrange, very similar to the list that we just watched in action here. Just low curve, no nonsense, get it done. Spyglass Siren, Deep Cavern Bat, Fairy Masterminds, Gix. We do see Lazav, Wearer of Faces in there. Couple of Urtais, Preacher of the Schism. So very, very creature heavy. Not very many spells in this one. You see a couple of cut down, 1 duress, 3 make disappear, and then 2 go for the throat and a long goodbye. And everything else is creatures. But these creatures do have some utility to them. What do you think about this Dimir mid-range list as compared to the last one that we just watched Amy play?
I mean, I feel like a broken record, Nicole, but I love bat on 2, good follow up to bat on 3.
Right.
This deck does that. I think some important notes for this list, especially in this matchup. We have the Tidebinders in the sideboard, can be pretty good against Esper. Might see those come into play. We have the Shieldrids, a great answer to Rafine. Which Rafine is really like the card you need to be worried about in this matchup. I think that this list has very solid removal, a really solid creature plan. I'm excited to see it play out.
Yes, I am excited too. It's no mistake, I think, that a lot of these mid-range decks, they're all playing black so they can go Deep Cavern Bat on 2. It's like you're either Dimir, which is black, Rakdos, Golgari, Esper. They're all, so everybody's playing bad on 2. Well, I don't know what they're doing on turn 1. I don't know what they're doing on turn 3, but on turn 2, they're playing Deep Cavern Bat. And we are about to watch this baddie matchup for a playoff spot between Anna and Andrea in division number 14. Anna will be on the bottom of your screen. She is on Esper midrange, and on the top we have Andrea, and she will be on Dimir midrange. And we look at this opening hand: 4 lands, double No More Lies, and a cut down. Gonna keep this happy. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very good reactive hand for Anna. I can understand why she would keep it. It does a good job of answering bat on 2, because we can just see the cut down in response to the trigger. You still get to look at the hand, but you don't get to keep any other cards.
Yep. So take a little looky-loo here, Andrea. That's all you're going to get. But knowing about those No More Lies kind of makes them feel a little worse.
Yeah, but at this stage of the game where no one has established board presence, you kind of just have to play things out. I really love the Siren here because it's such an awkward No More Lies target, but you still get to develop your board.
It's like, do you want to let me have this 1/1 or? So it looks like Urtai Resurrected is on the top of the deck for Andrea and not wanting to keep it there either with 3 cards in hand.
I wonder if that communicates to Anna that Andrea was missing a 4th land and did not feel like she could afford to take the Urtai at the time, or if she just is not worried about Urtai in this matchup.
Now, it looks like Anna's starting to draw a little more gas to her hand as she has a Wandering Emperor and a Rafine now. And Deep Cavern Bat, once again, trying to come down to ruin Anna's day. Let's see. With 3 mana up, can pay for No More Lies.
I can't imagine it would be worth it to double No More Lies here.
No, this is so awkward. I think just playing out the Emperor is probably just correct, but it's so close. I actually really like Andrea, or sorry, Anna letting her take the Emperor if she wants and just say, all right, you don't get to play cards for the rest of the turn because I have these No More Lies.
All right, maybe I'll get it back later, right?
Yeah.
We'll see it. Takanuma, what have you got for Anna here? Going to reveal a couple of fairy masterminds. And oh, look, Wandering Emperor, you're back.
Yeah, I wonder if Anna just needs to play Rafine anyway, or if she's comfortable just waiting for the fairy mastermind or the Emperor to hit the board.
And it looks like just gonna get in a fairy mastermind. We'll see if Andrea has a response, and it looks like she might have something to say about that. Go for the throat, also leaving up 3 mana for the No More Lies. So Anna gonna let that happen. 3 more damage coming across. Anna down to 13, Andrea up to 21, and there she is, the Sphinx demon herself, Rafine, Scheming Seer, coming down onto the battlefield. Andrea, 2 cards in hand. Long Goodbye cannot be countered, so that ward doesn't really matter, but only leaving her with 1 card in hand.
Andrea's playing this so well. She's gotten just a couple little threats down. She is playing so safe, playing around these No More Lies. Really just willing to chip away at Anna's life total.
And we see, and it is chipped down to 6. 1 card left in Andrea's hand. Anna has to wonder what could it be. And with 2 white sources here, Anna can't play out the Wandering Emperor and have No More Lies.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate because with 1 more white source, we could play the Emperor right now and also have the No More Lies held up for um, a potential counter spell.
But we see it with Gix, a land, and then Gix, Yawgmoth Praetor out of hand. Andrea is empty-handed, so Wandering Emperor safe to come on down, exiling the Deep Cavern Bat to get back the 2nd copy of Wandering Emperor. Spyglass Siren will hit, Gix will trigger, so Andrea down to 21, drawing a card. And Anna, plenty of white sources now, looking to cash in on the Wandering Emperor and going to wait on casting the 2nd one.
Yeah, Anna's in such a tricky position here, but it's definitely not out of the game by any means. The 2nd Wandering Emperor is very huge. We've got the Anchorage online. In fact, we have enough to be able to do both of those things in a single turn, which is pretty huge.
Yes. I think the scariest thing is that the white sources being pained sources too. 2 of them unpained and 2 of them are painted at 4 life. That's kind of scary, a little spooky. So Otawara going to go to hand. Now that's also a card. Cannot be countered.
Otawara is one of the cards of all time.
For sure. Paying 4, it does return an artifact, a creature, enchantment, or a planeswalker to an opponent's hand. So
yeah, so this really shuts off a lot of potential lines for Anna. Like she can no longer block with the samurai, flash in the emperor, and then give the samurai the +1 token first strike to kill gigs. Because it'll just get bounced with the Otawara. I really like this from Andrea. Just swing in with the 1 siren here and just say, all right, you can kill it, but that's the only option of things you have to kill.
Right. Limiting your opponent's options seems super important here in this matchup. And Otawara, it looks like looking to bounce the Spyglass Siren back to hand.
I think that is huge, even if only to block the 2 life gain for Anna.
Yeah, so still at
Ooh.
4. But speaking of life gain, we've got our first big bat of the evening. Aclazotz is here.
This has got to be one of the biggest draws that Anna could have possibly hit.
Yes. Now, the 3/3 Samurai gonna get in, and Deepest Betrayal on the battlefield, your turn. So a 4/4 lifelinker. Ooh, Urtai Resurrected. That's gonna come down.
With the 3 mana.
With the 3 mana. Oh my. So, Deepest Betrayal, getting blown up, drawing an Otawara.
Oh.
So, Anna cannot Otawara if she had a still had the bat in play, she would have been able to, as it is a legendary creature, and it would have made it cheaper, but
yeah, I mean, this is not lethal just yet, but it is pretty close.
It is pretty close. Now, attacking here, it looks like Wandering Emperor is going to go down, as Anna could untap and -2 on one of these Spyglass Sirens to gain 2 life back. So it looks like wanting to finish off Wandering Emperor as the 1/1 gets in. So Anna down to 3, able to draw a card off of Gix. And as we know from the top of the deck, it is Lazav.
Yeah, and Andrea doing a very good job of managing Anna's life total. Because now any 3 that gets in kills. If the 2 flyers get in, that kills.
Yes, and it'll be interesting to see how much mana does Anna have here to use. It looks like able to keep up Otawara because of the discount from Aclazott's Deepest Betrayal. So able to keep open the Otawara as well as have Deep Cavern Bat. Even though it didn't hit anything from the hand, a 1/1 flying lifelink blocker is everything Anna wants right now.
Absolutely. This is going to be allowed to trade with one of the Sirens. Or sorry, block the Urtai. We still have the Otawara online.
Right, so it looks like blocks are going to be made, and Otawara, is it time for the Soaring City? Come down on one of these Sirens is the question. We see what does, oh my goodness.
Whoa.
Wow. Oh, but discarding a card, waiting till after blockers, because discarding a land when your opponent discards a land, Alcazott's Deepest Betrayal, means you make a 1/1 flying bat token. So what was on the top of the deck? Oh, it was a good one too.
Virtue. That is devastating.
Well, I guess we see the drop down to 2 life. Could Otawara have been used to bounce the Virtue of Loyalty to Anna's hand?
Yeah, so that would have put us at 1 life.
Oh, that's scary.
But definitely could have happened. We do have Aclazott's online now.
Yes.
We are healing. We've got Anchorage online. Anna's definitely not out of this. In fact, Andrea's life's already down to 9.
Yes, Deep Cavern Bat gonna come down here, and Anna's like, yeah, I mean, sure, no more lies. not gonna play it. You can have it. So now it's curious to see if Andrea is going to hold her last card in hand here for the Aclazotz. And Restless Anchorage looking like a double block here on the Urtai. So we're gonna trade like a land and sort of like a half a card for one, because doesn't Anna wanting to keep these creatures from getting too big?
Yeah, I mean, this is just such good play from Andrea. Just forcing Anna to make these less than favorable blocks and decisions. Now gets to turn the Acklazotz off for another turn.
We'll see. And just going to let it through. So Anna up to 11, Andrea down to 5. But these creatures are going to get huge.
Yeah, so I think that was a pretty smart play from Andrea because Anna definitely had the mana to just be able to do the bad thing again. She doesn't want to lose her creatures, especially when Virtue is going to trigger, and now she can just 1-for-1 with the bat.
Right, so that Acklazotz can get back in another land. So a 1/1 and gonna let it through once again. Restless Anchorage, the play. Anna has 2 chump blockers here, so the 4/4 and the 3/3 can get in. It's up to Anna. Anna says, "I'm gonna just take it." Gaining 3 life off of that Deep Cavern Bat, and it's just gonna get bigger and bigger every turn. Now it could just eat the Acklazotz.
Yeah. Now it as starting next turn, it is going to start outpacing the Acklazotz in terms of life gain.
So we'll see. Fairy Mastermind perhaps going to draw a card first and see.
Yeah, I really like holding this Fairy Mastermind trigger until next turn. So we really get the value of our opponent drawing 2 cards.
I mean, making yet another bat token. This time, obviously, Deepest Betrayal getting eaten by the Spyglass Siren, but having those 1/1 blockers and hoping to start drawing some cards of Fairy Mastermind. Also, by attacking, having Andrea discard cards probably feels great for Anna. 1/1 gonna jump in front of that 5/5. Boom. Run that one over. We've got Anna at 7, Andrea at 6, Preacher of the Schism. And Virtue going to trigger once again. So we've got a 6/6 flyer, a 5/5 lifelinking flyer, and a 3/5 Death Toucher on the ground. Destroy Evil. That's an interesting draw.
Destroy Evil is a pretty interesting draw. Hard to say where it's going to go at this point in the game. I think if I'm Anna, I want to take my next draw step and see what information I learn off of this. But Andrea drawing that Fairy Mastermind and getting to be able to do it before Anna draws their second card makes things pretty awkward.
Oh, and a Rafine Scheming Seer. That's also an interesting draw, as that can grow things pretty large.
Yeah, for sure.
See, if Anna has chosen a target for this Destroy Evil yet, gonna destroy the enchantment or creature. It looks like going for the lifelinker, saying, I'm hoping to get together this one big alpha strike and hoping that you cannot stop it. Unfortunately, the Deepest Betrayal does come back to the battlefield tapped once the land is activated. So that's going to give Andrea another round with all of the counters.
Yeah, it does give Andrea another round with the counters. But we also do set up for pretty powerful Rafine turns here. Taking out the lifelinker for Andrea, I think, is pretty huge given the life totals in this game right now.
And we see the 6/6 and the 3/5 Death Toucher getting in and making a lifelinker on the ground. So one of the 1/1 bats going to jump in front of the 6/6. It looks like the 3/5 Preacher of the Schism will be allowed to come through. So down to 4 goes Anna. And this has been a really tight battle between these two players, just back and forth at such low life totals. Another No More Lies for Anna, and saying at this point, my opponent has 8 lands in play. I don't want any more No More Lies.
Yeah, second No More Lies is kind of useful, just in the sense that we can double counter something, but yeah, deciding where to put this Rafine trigger, pretty tricky.
So many triggers. We see double map tokens from each of the Restless Anchorages. The Aclazot's are going to draw and discard 6 cards. That's so many. And we saw Andrea discarding a land. So going to see another bat, a 1/1 bat on the side of Anna. So one little chump blocker if things should go awry here for Anna. But it's time for Andrea to make some blocks.
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous about the crackback potential here.
If Andrea survives this.
If Andrea survives this, indeed. Because let's see, we block the 2 biggest things. I think that's still lethal.
Yeah, that would be.
No, a card was drawn off Fairy Mastermind.
Yeah, so we'll see. Because
if it's a kill spell, then No More Lies just does not matter.
And it is. It's a cut down. Now, this would be enough to keep Andrea alive at 1 life, with the 7/7 and the 4/4 being blocked by the Fairy Mastermind and the Spyglass Siren. So, and that looks like what is going to happen here. Spyglass Siren going to eat the Aclazots. The Fairy Mastermind just going to jump in front of the 7/7, not before drawing a card, though. And down to 1 goes Andrea. Up to 8 goes Anna, with just that little 1/1 holding down the fort back here. And it looks like going to map.
I think that's actually pretty dangerous for Anna, because if the 1 card Andrea drew was another flash creature, that could just be game over. But luckily that was not the case. And we'll see if Andrea is able to pull this out.
There is a Restless Reef, it looks like. So that's going to do it. Like you said, on the crackback here, Restless Reef and Preacher with that little 2/2 token. That's 10 damage coming across if Anna was to block the 7/7. So that'll do it. Wow, what a game number 1 here we have from our 2 players. Andrea on Dimir Midrange is going to take that first one down over Esper Midrange player Anna. And we're moving to sideboard. So Shrouded Shepherd going to come in, going to shave those No More Lies. Got sick of looking at him in her hand there for the last half of that first game. I get it.
Yeah, Andrea just played so well around the interaction all game long and continuously forced Anna into pretty awkward positions. I mean, that being said, Anna's still like a testament to their ability, and the power of this deck was able to nearly turn it around, taking Andrea down to 1.
Yes, definitely an impressive showing. Very well played, very well navigated from both of our players. As we see Anna playing a second land here and saying go with that 1 Shrouded Shepherd in hand. Spyglass Siren, gonna try to map onto it, but Anna saying nah, gonna cut that down before it gets too out of hand and pass the turn back. So just land go from Anna once again, holding open 2 mana with a No More Lies. We'll see if Andrea plays into it. She will not, as 3rd land, and pass back. And not just any 3rd land, a Mirrex. Do you think we'll see a Mirrex come into play in this matchup?
I think that's definitely very likely. As much as these decks both want to kind of play in each other's insteps, being able to just have a place to sink your mana into when you don't need to use that interaction is very nice.
I love it. And we see the Fairy Mastermind on Andrea. So it looks like maybe a stable board presence here. And Preacher of the Schism, I'm going to try to get that one down as well. But Anna's going to say, no way. Let's exile that one, as Fairy Mastermind now clear to get into the red zone. So Anna down to 18, drawing first blood, a second Restless Anchorage from Anna, drawing a Deep Cavern Bat. Is she going to take a look at Andrea's hand? It looks like she will Andrea's 4 cards. One of them was cut down.
One of the best responses you can have to bet. Shieldred is tough for Anna.
Yes, we see Shrouded Shepherd going to just take care of the Fairy Mastermind, keep the board clear, keep her life total as high as she possibly can. But like you said, Shieldred is here, and it's definitely a scary place to be.
Yeah, very interested to see if Andrea is willing to attack into this Emperor mana. Looks like she is.
She will. And Wandering Emperor going to be make disappeared. That is painful. So this 4/5 getting in. Shieldred is running rampant on this battlefield.
Yeah, very painful indeed. Now we do now have the block with our creature Iganjo the Shieldred line available.
That is definitely a possibility. Andrea up to 24, Anna down to 10. So going to definitely need to do something to stop the Shieldred as Lazab, Wearer of Faces, comes down on the side of Andrea. And does Shieldred get in again? Andrea's saying, nah, I don't have another make disappear to protect against your Wandering Emperors this time around. So Shieldred's staying home. Shieldred's doing what she's got to do anyway. Draining once again. So Anna down to 8. We see Fairy Mastermind looking to get in. So nothing Andrea can do about anything in the air. And a Preacher of the Schism is the follow-up.
Yeah, really heads up from Andrea. Not attacking with the Shieldred now that the shields are up. Long goodbye on the Preacher is just so good.
Yeah, good answers for most of Anna's threats so far this game. See, again, Iganjo in hand. And Andrea thinking about what to do here. It looks like go for the throat on the Shrouded Shepherd. And it looks like Shieldred and Lazab both feeling frisky, getting into the red zone. So looking to exile a card and investigate.
Yeah, I mean, this just prices Anna into Iganjoing this Lazab, which is obviously not what they wanted to use this Iganjo for, but does buy her exactly one more turn.
Yeah, and we'll see what's she going to draw here. A Dark Slick Shores. Anna not wanting to see that, and not that many options here now as Anna going out on her own terms, perhaps. Drawing the go for the throat. What?
I would rather not know. I would rather not. If it were me, I would rather not know.
Oh, that was painful in so many ways. But Andrea will take down that matchup. Dimir mid-range over Esper mid-range, 2-0. That game 1 was bonkers. That was
wild.
An amazing game of Magic. So well played and well navigated by both of our players. It was a pleasure to watch them both play in this mid-range matchup. Seeing Esper versus Dimir with so many similarities and so many differences. What a match!
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there were so many complicated lines in that first game that I think are really a testament to how skill testing and how high the skill ceiling is in Standard right now. I mean, just so many turns where the decisions were so many, and so many of the decisions looked good. I mean, when you think back about that Otawara turn where it's like, do I protect my life total right now and bounce one of these creatures? Do I bounce this enchantment back to my hand? You know, it's very complicated and very, very skill testing. And I think both of our players played incredibly well. It was really great to get to watch their matchup, and congratulations to our winner.
Yes, congratulations to Andrew for taking that one down. That was super impressive. Anna at 4-3 might be able to squeak into a wild card spot, but Andrea at 6-1, top of her division, top of Division 14. Congrats and best of luck in the playoffs. And that will do it for us here at the VML for this week. That was a wild night of Magic. Those are some really interesting. This is just such an amazing organization. If you don't know about the VML, hi, how are you? Make sure you're following us. Follow us here on Twitch, twitch.tv/VMLMTG, on Twitter, VMLMTG, and on YouTube at VMLMTG, just in case you have missed any of our past weeks, because this is week 7. This was the final week of round robin play before we get into our wild card week and all that the playoffs has to offer, brought to you by Wizards of the Coast. Again, a big thank you to Wizards of the Coast for their sponsorship, for making this season and previous seasons possible. We adore you all. Thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do this without you. Yeah, but that about does it for us here tonight. If you're looking, you can always follow me at LadyOfTheCrease, Nicole Callahan, on Twitter. Now, where can we find you?
Yeah, so I am NileJoanRivers. Everywhere you can find me: Twitter, Twitch, Discord, everywhere, really. Yeah, be sure to follow the VML. This is a really great organization doing really cool things. I know I've said this a few times tonight, but again, I think this is just such a testament to what a good spot Standard is in as a format right now. Like, we watched a bunch of very intense matches tonight, and none of them were the same, you know? And like, when we saw that metagame breakdown earlier, we saw so much archetype diversity. And you can really just bring whatever deck you like into the meta and perform pretty well with it. There's so many great choices in Standard. It's been really fun getting to commentate these games. Nicole, I'm so glad that we got to be in the booth together.
I am too. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I had a great time.
I was very sad because I recently had to miss the Standard tournament that you had held on your Twitch channel, which was amazing. VML working side by side with Birds of Paradise in a lot of different capacities at Magic Cons and things like that. So also, if you're not following Birds of Paradise, what are you doing? So
absolutely. Birds of Paradise, VML, two groups with very similar aligned goals. As Nicole just mentioned, last Sunday, I hosted a 128-person arena online open tournament. It was a lot of fun. It was a 2K with prizes to the top 16. We had custom trophy playmats for the top 8. We're hoping to do more of these in the future. We're just looking for sponsors right now.
And the coverage was amazing. So
we had an incredible coverage team. I'm really happy we were able to get everyone together. Definitely follow Birds of Paradise. Follow me on Twitter if you want to hear about the next event that we're hosting. I think it's going to be a great time.
Yes, please do. We are so happy to have you all here in our community, because we could not do this without all of you. The amazing team that we have behind the scenes, all of our casters, our admin team, all of our players that recorded and played, and our backup features, and everybody battling, all of our viewers that give us all the support. And every week, I like to give my biggest thank you to our can't have the sorceress behind the scenes, Phoebe, who is absolutely amazing, keeps us all together, is the glue that holds together the VML. I really don't know what we would do without her. She is amazing and incredible. And
if I may,
yes,
I appreciate being called a sorceress, but clearly I am double classed as Bard Warlock. Thank you.
I will make a note. Bard Warlock. Got it. I will make sure to, when I play a Cavern of Souls, I will name, I think Bard is more fun. So
sure,
if you don't mind. But we adore you all, and catch us next week, Wildcard Week, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific, right here, VMLMTG. I hope to see you all here, every last one of you. And bring a friend. Tell your grandma. Bring them all. We want them here.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have a wonderful night, and we'll catch you next week.
Good night. Bye.